Hi, welcome to saxplayer.us. I'm Steve. Thanks for dropping by. One question I get a lot from beginning students is what kind of saxophone should I get? Where should I start? And so I want to address that today and talk a little bit about what kind of saxophone you should look to get and accessories and all that, where to begin, equipment wise. So typically, you would start with the alto saxophone. A lot of people maybe want to start with soprano or tenor. Soprano is challenging because it's a little harder than alto to begin. Alto and tenor are a little bit easier. Baritone is somewhat harder, and it's big and a little unwieldy. So depending on your size and what your age is, it could be somewhat challenging. So typically I recommend you start with the alto saxophone. It's sort of where everybody does begin and probably should begin. I also recommend that you rent first before you go out and buy. That way you can get a sense of if this is really for you, because maybe you're thinking about the saxophone and maybe you try it and you're like, this isn't really me. Maybe I want to play trumpet or some other thing. So it's not for everybody, for certainly. So go to a good local store where you can rent, and a lot of places have rent to own, which is a good option. And most stores are going to be able to give you a good beginner or student model. Look for a brand that is reputable. So Selmer is a really good brand. Yamaha is a really good brand. Yanagasawa, another good brand. And then you get off into some others, especially the newer ones, Cannonball, etc., that are made in China. And those could be some good horns, but in general, I usually recommend you start with a Yamaha. A YAS 26, I believe, is the student model. And you can usually rent one from a good music store. You can also pick one up pretty cheaply on Craigslist or on eBay if you take a look, if you're looking carefully. And you can probably get one for about $300 if you were going to buy one. But again, I would recommend that you start off renting, and then if you find you really like it, then you can go ahead and purchase. But if you're 100% sure, I'm going to play saxophone, like this is for me. Or if you're a parent and you're getting one for your child and you know this is what they're going to do for 3 or 4 years, you might just want to go ahead and buy the instrument, especially the Yamaha, the YAS 26. You can get your money back quite easily at the end of 3 or 4 years if they graduate high school and decide they don't want to keep going. And it's a high quality student instrument. I would say don't skimp when you're beginning, and don't get something that's antique or old or passed down that's not high quality. If it's not like a high quality Selmer or Yamaha, something of that nature, you're going to run into problems. And you don't want the instrument to get in your way, right? You want it to be working the best. I actually think students should have some of the best instruments out there, because then there's no barrier there in terms of equipment. Often I go into schools and the instruments are not that great, and students are struggling to develop bad habits. So I would just say get the best instrument you can. $300 to $500 if you're going to buy. A rent-to-own plan at your music store is great. So then once you get the instrument, the next thing you want to focus on is the mouthpiece. And Yamaha comes with a good stock mouthpiece. That's a good one. You can also, Rousseau makes really good, and Van Doren also make fine mouthpieces. And I'll put some links up to the side here for specific brands that you can check out for students. So you want a good mouthpiece, you want a good ligature, and all those should come already with a good ligature. I wouldn't go for anything too fancy, just a standard metal ligature with the 2 screws on it. And then you're going to want some reeds. And I would say for beginners especially, you're going to want to stick to around a 2. That's the strength. So reeds are numbered in strengths, anywhere from 1 all the way up to 5, depending on who makes the reed. And different manufacturers strength them differently, and different manufacturers' reed strengths are different. So a 3 from Van Doren is not the same as 3 from, say, Rico. They're going to be different, and the cane is different for each one. I typically recommend, you can get Rico, one of their premium brands, like the I don't know what's called these days. I don't really play them that much, but and actually they're bought by Diodario, so they're making some quality reeds. I do like Eastman reeds. They're made by the same company that makes the reeds I play on, which are Rigati, and I think those are great reeds. So get a few reeds in the 2 strength to start off with, and just get a couple. You don't need a whole box just yet. Just get 2 or 3 from your local store. And there'll be another video coming up on how to select reeds, so I'll show you exactly what to look for when you're picking reeds one by one. And then you want a good neck strap. I would caution you going for the really spongy, comfy ones that bounce too much, because you want something that gives a little resistance and is going to hold the instrument sturdy around your neck. You can always put more padding underneath it. Some people put a cloth under it. I like Rico actually makes a really nice neck strap, and I'll put a link to that up here as well. A lot of people, there's different kinds, so it's sort of preference. But again, stay away from the super cushy, super spongy ones that don't give you quite the resistance. And then you're gonna want some accessories. So you're going to want a case, a reed case to put your reeds in, preferably one that holds at least 4 reeds and has some sort of humidity control so your reeds don't warp. Warped reeds are a bad thing. You don't want that. And you're going to want some cork grease. You're going to want a cleaning swab, and you're going to want some kind of cloth. And it's sort of, you could just get your own cloth. You don't have to buy it specially from a store to clean parts of the instrument. And there'll be another video on specifically how to clean your instrument, how to keep it well maintained. You might also want a little bit of key oil to oil your keys if they get stiff or sticky. Let's see, what else? I think that's probably about it. A swab, some cork grease, some key oil, and another little cloth just to kind of to wipe things down. And your case for your reeds. That's super important. Once you get that, that's pretty much the basics of your equipment that you're gonna need for getting started on the saxophone. Once you get the equipment part down, there are books. You're gonna want to have some sort of book with music to work out of, and ideally you have a teacher. You're gonna have someone that you're studying one-on-one with. So I would say, if you can afford it, a private instruction, one-on-one instruction is absolutely the best. I do offer instruction. If you want to study with me, I'll put a link over here also where you can send me a note. And I do online lessons, so we can do them over Skype or Zoom or something like that, and it works out pretty well. And then books, I'll put a couple links to. I like the Learn to Play series, Learn to Play the Saxophone. They're kind of old, but they're really good standbys. Oh yeah, you might want a little bit of sandpaper for your reeds too. That's another little accessory. I should look in my case and see what else is in there. I'm trying to think of what else is in my case. But that should get you started. So get your instrument, get all your accessories, and when you're ready to go, come on back and we'll get you started. Have a great day. Thanks for stopping by.